everybody. Little technical difficulty here this morning on my part. My camera went out on my desktop, and I'm on my laptop, and we couldn't get my background. So, got my office background. You can see my advanced sign there, and a little fishy. I do like to fish. Anyway, thank you for joining us in the last of our web series, Hurricane Season Preparedness. Appreciate it. A lot of people on, a few more clicking in. So we're going to get started with a little video of Hurricane Ian from back a few years back. All right. Well, we play that not to scare everybody, just to remind us how big and how much damage a hurricane can do. So this is hurricane preparedness. If we are able to prepare for hurricanes, we can hopefully recover quickly, have less damage than if we didn't. Unlike fires in California, they didn't have time, and people lost everything. It's really a shame for those people out there. They're still not rebuilding. So a little bit about me. I'm Rob Quinn Aaron's, the founder and CEO. And then he moved me down to take over an existing branch in Fort Lauderdale in 1982. In 83, I decided I was going to start my own company, bought a pickup truck with a loan from my dad, and we started Advanced Roofing, one employee. So we've grown that now to over 750 employees in 7 locations. We also have solar and air conditioning down below. My 2 boys, Kevin, Mike, my grandson, and now 2 grandsons. And then our whole team across all our associates in the 7 branches is what makes us advanced. What else makes us advanced? If you look at our experience, we've been 42 years in the business, and that doesn't count prior experience of everybody that came on board with us. So we have a lot of experience. We have a lot of award winning. We get NRCA awards, GAF, a lot of the MS bike ride, the Miami Dolphins Challenge, and our teams do the Miami Heart Walk and on, Boys and Girls Club. Every year we do a career day. We got our project managers, construction managers go out and teach the Boys and Girls Club a little bit about roofing and hopefully get them interested in that. We are committed to safety. We have a low workman's comp mod of 0.83. In-house divisions are the roofing, HVAC, solar, cranes, sheet metal, and electric. National recognized as a top contractor in the country. And we also have protection guaranteed. Our bonding capability is over 200 million. All our warranties are covered not only by the manufacturer but by us as well. And then we do sustainability, very sustainable company. Most of our buildings have solar on it, and we're very conscious about the earth and the environment. Technology, we're going to talk a little bit about advanced access. This is one of the best tools you can have for hurricane preparedness. A lot of our clients have us inventory all their roofs. We identify any recommended actions, things that could be corrected to make the roof last longer. But for hurricanes, you know what you have up there. And when it comes to an insurance claim, you can prove that, the roof has been maintained and was in good condition. And so it makes for insurance claims a lot better. We also have 7 branches. Our headquarters is in Fort Lauderdale, and the second Tampa and Orlando are the second biggest ones with full service production. And then our smaller scopes, but we do large ones as well in Jupiter, Jacksonville, Fort Myers, and Miami-Dade. So we hope everybody stays on to the end. We do have a little raffle, our famous beach towels or a cup. So stay around and we'll do a raffle at the end. Objectives: hurricane season. We got historical facts. We also have this season's predictions. Also, reparations, what to do. Like I talked about earlier, you're going to learn about advanced access, what you can do to inventory your existing assets, key takeaways, and then we'll have a Q&A afterwards. I'm going to play another video now. This is one of my favorite things to talk about after Hurricane Andrew. The homestead got crushed. It was such a tight wound hurricane. It really was narrow focused, and Hurricane 5. This little video is going to show you some pictures of the Homestead mall down there. One of the stores is the Sears store down there. And as you can see on the left, with all the damage on the right where the Sears store was, just so much damage. We had just completed the Sears building like that year, and we lost some coping cap. They lost the S on Sears, and now it was ears. But they were very happy because they were open and they made a lot of money. But our roof held through that hurricane, which we were very proud of. So upcoming hurricane season, very favorable conditions. Usually, that indicates that we better prepare for this. You got the El Nino, the uncertainty, the strength of developing, and its impact on weather patterns remains uncertain. So we really got to take heed to what these predictions mean, and the climate impact, the factors affecting the activity, the climate change effects, the warm oceans now, the temperatures are warming, so there's more hot water out there to make them strengthen. And it also induces more flooding. So that's important to keep, not only the wind, but the storm surge, as we've seen on the West Coast several times. More damage, property damage in the surge than there was in wind in some of the hurricanes. Okay, the predictions. Basically, this 2025 predictions, they're talking about named storms of 13 to 18. And that will be hurricanes of 7 to 10. Major hurricanes 3 to 5, and then impacting the U.S. 3 to 6. Well, these are the stats. And then previously we had 18, last year 11 hurricanes, 5 major, and then 6 hit the U.S., most ever. And the average is 14. So as you can see, the 13 to 18 was still going to be above the average. 7 hurricanes is the average. They're talking about 11. 3 would be average, talking about 5, and then 6 to hit, 3 to 6 to hit. All right, let's do a poll. What side of a hurricane is considered the most dangerous?
The right side is a dangerous side. All right, now we got a pretty good video here of the wall of wind. This is something Rob's heavily involved in. They're down at FIU. Do a short video here.
Category 5 hurricane is a monster of a storm. These 12 giant fans can create the intensity of a Cat 5 hurricane with 157-mile-an-hour winds pummeling roof tiles and solar panels.
When we have 12 of them running together at the full speed, we have 8,400 horsepower.
Civil engineer Arindam Chaudhary and his team at Florida International University and the International Hurricane Research Center designed this 15-foot tall wall of wind, nicknamed WOW.
I'm going to go up now to 60 miles an hour.
The goal is to see if low-rise structures and building materials can withstand the same wind forces they'd face in a full-blown hurricane.
We did testing on rooftop equipment and we looked at the loads, and based on the results we sent recommendations to the Florida Building Code, and those recommendations are now in the Florida Building Code.
Manufacturers work with Chaudhary to test the durability of new products. For example, they want to see if this solar panel will stand up to hurricane-force winds. Sensors measure the pressure on the panel as the wind starts to blow.
We want to make sure everything stays within the frame, that the whole unit stays on the racking itself.
What wind speed? It's about 120. About 120.
Can we flip it around though?
A rotating turntable exposes all sides to headwinds.
Now we can see effects from different angles of the wind and get the data for all the directions.
I don't think we're going to see any damage to the panel based on what I saw. It's great stuff. You couldn't get this in any other type of testing.
It's just a little bit we've done on the front side on testing systems, helping manufacturers understanding enhancements as the new building codes come out. A lot of the finger or peel stop enhancement you're seeing are derived out of this testing, where historically they've done testing, bubble testing, things of that nature in a test lab. If you ever have an opportunity to go to one, it's pretty neat, but it's just a different aspect that we've been involved in on testing high performance roof systems. And Jason's running the Orlando branch, started off with us in Fort Lauderdale, went up and took over that branch and has grown it tremendously over the last 10 years. So welcome, Jason.
Hey, good morning, everybody. See if we can clean this up a little bit. But yeah, my name's Jason. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about what to look for. I'm going to talk to you about some high performance roof systems that perform well in high winds during hurricanes. So the first thing I'm going to talk about are give you a little bit of overview. All the roof systems that are permitted in the state of Florida have what's called a Florida building product approval. It's either through the Miami-Dade product approval, which they call the HVHZ, which is high velocity hurricane zone, or they have an approval through the rest of the state, which is the FBC, the Florida Building Code. So all of those systems that are put on are tested by the manufacturer to make sure that, based off of your territory of where you live in the state, that the roof system that's being installed meets the wind load requirements for the engineering. So different types of roof systems that are performing at a better rate, meaning they have a higher uplift pressure, are some of the three that are on the screen right now. One of them is called a Rhinobond roofing attachment. This is primarily used for single ply roof systems. This is what they call a heat weld induction, where they're screwing membrane or screwing plates and screws through the insulation, as you can see in that picture. And then a tool is used to heat weld the membrane to the back of the plate. What this is a little bit different. What it's dispersing the uplift over the entire width of the sheet, where a traditionally mechanically attached roof system, you might have a 10-foot sheet where the fasteners are only on the laps and no fasteners in the middle of the sheet. So what the Rhinobond attachment allows is to have a spread out uplift pressure over the entire field of the roof and the perimeters of the roof to create a higher uplift. Some of the highest uplift pressures in the Florida Building Code and in the Miami-Dade are these foam adhesives. Primarily, these are used on concrete decks. They do use them on mechanically attached metal decks, but concrete decks, you apply this foam. The foam has the highest uplift pressures out of any of the roof systems in the approvals from all the manufacturers for attaching insulation and attaching membrane to substrates. Some of the other roof systems that are modified bitumens, these are multiply, either torch applied, cold applied, or put down in hot asphalt. And then the PMMA resins are two-part epoxies where you have a catalyst like an A and a B, and it's a chemical reaction that is a liquid applied roof system. Very high uplift pressures with those as well. You see a lot of PMMAs that are utilized over occupied spaces like balconies where they have an air conditioned space up underneath. So the reason I'm explaining these to you is because if you guys are looking for roof systems that are going to perform at an accelerated level with higher uplift pressures in the future, these are the types of roofs to look for. Digging into the reasons why they are, enhanced components that you can add to a roof system are gypsum cover boards. Some of the examples there: Densdeck, Secure Rock, Soper board. They also have Dexcel. They also have some HD ISO boards that are in there. These are a secondary barrier over the insulation that basically provides durability to the roof system. It's Secure Rock is like a sheetrock for a ceiling or a wall. It provides very good hail resistance in some of the areas that get hail. The enhanced fastening patterns that we talked about in the previous slide were the foam adhesive and the Rhino Bond attachments. One of the biggest things that we like to do when we're re-roofing buildings is making sure that the deck is attached to the substrate. So in structurally enhancing the decking, when you tear off a roof system, you're down to a metal deck or a wood deck or a gypsum deck. What we do is we want to make sure that, well, by code, when you're re-roofing a wood deck, you have to re-nail the deck to meet the code with a specific fastener, and then screwing the metal deck down to the joists as well to make sure that it meets the attachment methods as well. So all of these things, the roof system is only as good as how it's attached to the substrate. The substrate is then attached to the purlin. The truss is the structure. So the entire component, when re-roofing the building, we want to make sure is secure. So some of these materials in general, the KEE or some it's a additive to PVC membranes. They're basically utilized for chemical resistance. There's also higher uplift pressures in the components of single plies. You have TPOs, you have PVCs, and you have KE PVCs, and then you have hybrid systems as well. So millage thicknesses for all different types of these, from 45 mil, actually there's manufacturer that makes 36 mil, all the way up to 80 mil, even 100 mil membranes for some manufacturers as well. Basically what that is the thickness of the membrane. When I say single ply, that's exactly what it is. It's one layer membrane, and it comes in different thicknesses based off of what is purchased. So here's what to look for right now. What can you do right now? So you get an inspection done on your building before hurricane season. Right now is a prime time to do that. You want to make sure that we haven't had any rain in the state, not a whole lot of rain. There's a lot of deficits I see on the news. I'm here in Orlando. We're about 5-6 inches down, through January 1st. There is some rain to forecast here over the next couple of days. But what are we looking for going into rainy season? You basically want to make sure that the roof is performing. So when it does rain, it does get winds, that you have done your due diligence. You look at clogged drains. Lots of leaves, trees, debris gets up on roofs. They've washed to the drain. You want to make sure that the water flows off the roof and gets into the drains and doesn't cause ponding, doesn't back up. We have maintenance programs for things like items like pitch pans, wall flashings. All these items are penetration areas, problem areas of a roof system over the life cycle of the roof. So what you want to do is you want to look at those areas. Pitch pans is a maintenance item from any manufacturer. Sealants, any sealant that's used is a maintenance item from any manufacturer. You want to make sure that those are not dry rotted, cracked, and basically installed with good new products prior to every hurricane season. The more homework that you do up front, the better off the roof is going to perform when it does have a lot of rain. Obviously, some of these storms come and they dump 10, 12, We actually had an issue a couple years ago where we had our office flooded. We had 18 inches of rain here in Seminole County over the period of when I think it was Ian that came through. So making sure that the roof drains properly, number one thing. So some of the other things that we recommend, and Rob talked about it in the beginning, is documenting your documenting what you got on the roof. So some of the things that we like to do is utilize our software called Advanced Access. We basically do an inventory of what's up on the roof. We take a detailed photos of everything that's up there, including mechanical equipment. A lot of times mechanical equipment will blow off the curbs or blow off the stands, blow across the roof, and it gets damaged. What we like to do is take pictures of serial numbers, manufacturer labels, things like that, document it. So if you do have to turn in a claim, but you have that information as far as what was existing, and you can get like kind depending on your policy. So what do? We inspect the roof. We identify all the penetrations. We identify any problem areas that you have. We get with the owners and I find out what type of warranties that are in place, if there are any. We put all that into a file for the customer for each individual building, and we keep that in a digital copy in a cloud-based system. That way it's not in a file somewhere in case the file gets tipped over and it dumps into that 18 inches of rain I was talking about. So utilize our service, get a free roof inspection, and put everything in for your building into a cloud-based platform that we utilize to document all the current conditions of your roof. So here's a little bit of a checklist on what to do before, right? So we talked about drains, number one. A lot of rain comes with hurricanes. You want to make sure that the water is flowing down the roof drains, making sure that the scuppers, the overflows, the gutters are clean, water coming into the gutter, all the trees, leaves, everything. That way when it rains, it doesn't have a tendency to pond up there. There's been instances where roofs have collapsed. I'm sure people have seen that, where water, 7 pounds per gallon up on a roof has caused roofs to cave in. We want to basically make sure that all the drainage systems are clean. Looking at air exhaust intakes on fans, we have our HVAC manager Paul that's going to talk a little bit about what to look for on that after me. Solar is something that's been popular over the last 10 years. A lot of customers have put this on, making sure that you're doing an inspection of all your panels, all your screws, all everything's torqued to the manufacturer's recommendations. Satellite dishes, some of these are going away. If you are doing a roof project and this thing's up there, it's always a great idea just to get rid of all abandoned equipment that's up on a roof and get it off while you're doing the project at that time. So like I said earlier, we check all the metal edges, check all the sealants, lightning protection, making sure that roof hatches are closed. Putting a lock on a roof hatch is a great idea. Wind comes across the roof and pops roof hatches open. Next thing you know, it's raining inside the building as well. So we do offer this service to have somebody go out, make sure that you're ready for a hurricane. So the next one here is storms gone by. Lots of wind, everybody's hunkered down. They go outside, they start walking around. This is, in my mind, one of the most dangerous times for people to be getting out. I've heard stories about power lines being down, people walking around, not really knowing who to look to. Everybody's curious, right? What happened? I heard things. I want to know what that was. They get out and they get up on the roof, and it can be very dangerous. Some of the things that we want to do is take photos that I mentioned before. Take photos of the outside of your building prior to the storm coming. Take photos of the current conditions. They're up to date, and then also take photos afterwards as well, so identifying the damage. A lot of claims these nowadays are submitted online. You can, file your claim with your company, provide pictures to them. But just be careful when you're out there and a storm goes by. God forbid it does happen, that you're being very cautious. If you hear things, it's up on the roof, it's probably damage. And getting up there and doing an investigation would be recommended by a professional, not popping your ladder up and trying to find out what was going on. A lot of things can happen that we want to keep everybody safe. So I believe that's it for me. Next slide is going to be Paul Murphy. He's going to kind of do a little bit of the same thing I did and talk to you about what to look for in regards to your mechanical equipment prior to the storm.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason, for the introduction. Yeah, so let's get into a little bit about HVAC, what to look for pre-hurricane. That being said, the first thing we want to definitely look at is to check all the fasteners on the equipment. You want to look at the tie downs mainly, because that's what's going to keep your unit securely mounted to the roof structure, so that way it's not flying across the roof and causing any damage to the AC unit, as well as anything around the AC unit. So we want to make sure those units and tie downs are strapped down properly. We want to make sure we inspect them for any rust or corrosion, so that way they're not compromised. The next thing we want to look into is securing all the access panels on the piece of equipment. There's panels for the electrical components. There's panels to access on package units. There's panels for filter changing, and sometimes those panels may not have a screw in them, or there may be a little loose. You want to make sure they're all fastened down properly. All the screws are in the panel, so that way those don't go flying off. We happen to see it a lot when after a storm, we'll have panels rolling across roof decks and causing a bunch of punctures, as well as causing water to enter the unit and cause damage to the unit. So try to mitigate all those issues by making sure all of your fasteners are in place. The next thing is, like I said, you want to replace any compromised brackets, straps, any fasteners that have been rusted or corroded. Want to make sure you take care of that. As Jason's pointed out, as well as you want to take photos prior to the storm of your equipment. This is something that you could definitely do yourself. Just go up on the roof, take a couple pictures of the equipment, making sure that it's in good condition, or at least the pre-storm condition of the equipment. So that way, if you have any claims on the equipment, it can be, you have existing photos. Another thing that we can do as a contractor is come over and provide you a report, a digital report with photos of what the current condition of that equipment is. So if you are looking to get that done in a digital format, that's something we can definitely do. And then you also want to make sure that everything's picked up around the AC units, that there's no debris around the equipment that could fly into the equipment, cause damage to the coils, because that's a very expensive fix. After the storm, some of the things we're looking for is first, you want to, again, like Jason said, safety first. The huge hazards could, be in place. There could be power lines down, sharp debris, unstable structures. So you really want to be careful. And that's where I really say, after the storm is the most important time to probably bring in a licensed contractor to take a look at everything and inspect everything, make sure nothing is damaged, and compare that to your pre-storm photos and conditions. So you want to have a contractor go through the equipment, make sure there's no issues with wiring or structural components with the equipment. You want to make sure you clear out all of the debris around the equipment so the unit can function properly, and then re-engage power to the equipment and run the equipment to make sure there is no damage to it. As well as we can do a damage assessment. Again, with that current conditions report that we do prior to the storm, we can also do that after the storm and provide you a full analysis and diagnosis of what has happened to the unit and what are the potential issues are with that equipment. So that way you can document that and keep the report and provide that to the insurance companies for insurance claims or for any future reference. And that's pretty much all you need to do with the HVAC.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, Clint Sockholm, Executive Vice President of AGT and Advanced Roofing, and run the solar operation here day to day. I've been with the team for coming up on 20 years now. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we have to do to take care of solar assets. I think Jason mentioned solar is our fastest growing division, and we're seeing really widespread adoption inside corporate and governmental facilities, private operations as well. So what to look for, pre-hurricane. I think a lot of this is going to be repetitive, and the biggest message in my mind is we really do need to document the condition of the asset before these storms hit, and it's something that we should be doing all the time, whether that's a roofing investment, HVAC investment, or a solar investment. But we need to check our inverters and our communication devices to ensure that they're up and running, functional, and communicating to to the grid so we can see how things fare in the event that there is a storm coming. Obviously, inspecting the enclosures. A lot of times these inverters and these panel boards are mounted up on top of the rooftops or on the outside of the building. They almost all have access doors or panels that, are required to keep, wind-driven rain out. And those seals can become compromised from technician error or just wear and tear and aging over time with UV and heat. And it's very important that we keep moisture and wind-driven rain out of the enclosures. Measuring the torques of all of our electrical connections. And then, I would say one step further than that is using an infrared, camera to look for potentially weak connections that are causing, extra resistance and could lead to overheating of our breakers or even potentially fires and melting of wire. Inspecting conduits for proper connections, our couplings and our fittings are properly installed, and duct seal at any of our conduit entry points. Again, 100+ mile-an-hour winds come with driven rain, and driven rain tends to find its way into weak spots and things that you might not be paying attention to over time. Some pretty obvious things, looking for visible wire connections, making sure things are off the roof, nothing's going to get torn up. And probably the biggest single thing that we can do is spot checking all of our attachments that are holding our solar panels in place to the structure, to the racking systems. If you're not familiar with solar, our installations comes with tens of thousands of bolted connections, and we really go through painstaking process of torquing each one of those connections to a very specific foot-pounds or inch-pounds per the manufacturer's recommendations. And then once those connections are torqued to specifications, we actually mark them with a permanent paint marker. So there's a reference point that shows where that bolt was supposed to be when it was properly torqued. And, we talk a lot about hurricanes and extreme winds, but even average thunderstorms and 100-mile-an-hour winds, things that we should, survive, they do bring vibration and stress to the systems. And if we're not checking for what's been happening day to day in the operation of the system, those connections can come loose over time. And then when the big storm does hit, those loose connections are very susceptible to vibration. They tend to work themselves loose. And we've actually seen catastrophic failures. We were hired to rebuild and reinstall an installation on a large beverage distributor. It was installed in the new construction, and bolted connections weren't properly torqued, and actually the equipment used wasn't even proper. And hurricane, I believe it was Ian, they lost nearly 1 megawatt, or 5,000 solar panels all flew off of the roof pretty much at one time due to vibration. We cleaned up that mess and reinstalled and redesigned and re-engineered and installed a proper system for them. But if they were checking for torque marks and had proper installation, it could have been avoided. It's really sad to see. So making sure those connections are proper and maintained is a big deal. Inspecting your modules for physical damages. Again, document the condition pre-storm so you know what it is. And then warning signs and labels for first responders. There's a lot of code that's required for us to give clear direction that, if there's a solar power source up on the roof or at your carport, and giving directions on how to shut that asset down if you need to as well. So making sure that those directories are intact. Post-hurricane solar inspection list. Again, professional technicians is the message here. There's high voltage up on those roofs. Sometimes we're dealing with, not sometimes, almost all the time in today's current environment, 1,000-volt DC circuits up on those rooftops, and then standard building voltage 480 AC on the other side of the system. So always have qualified people, confirming no waters getting into those components, checking our voltages to make sure we don't have string damages, rechecking all of those torque marks to ensure that whatever stress was put on that system from the wind event ultimately didn't, disengage any of those connections. And then go back in and spot check. And one thing that we're offering now is extensive uses of our drones, both in planning phases and then in the operations phase as well. But wind-driven debris can cause damage to solar cells that maybe you can't physically see. Some of those excessive stresses and vibration can also crack cells. So, potentially using the drone to get a good baseline if there was any damage that could be hidden, because the solar panels are subject to what we call micro fractures. You can't actually see them with your eye, but they are causing excessive resistance in the electrical circuit, which causes heat buildup. And that picture on the bottom is a great example of a solar cell that actually has damaged cells, a solar module that has damaged cells in it, causing excessive resistance and lower efficiencies in its power conversion. So damage that might be unseen to the eye, we can absolutely catch with our infrared thermal drones. So, all right. Is your roof still under warranty? Time for a quick poll. All right, so we got a pretty good group, more than 50%, 60% sitting here, yes, 17 no, 22% not sure. And we can help you maintain that warranty and keep it intact regardless of a storm event, maybe help you find out what your warranty is or if you have one. And if you don't have one, well, we can help with that as well. So moving on to the next slide. I'm going to turn it over to Michael Cornarens. Michael's a managing partner, been in the roofing business since birth, like a lot of us, and really runs our production and operations around the state. So, Michael.
Good afternoon, everybody, again. And the theme of warranties, we're going to talk a little bit about different types of warranties that you're seeing out there if you're going to purchase a new roof, to understand them. So you got manufacturer NDL warranties. That's the primarily chunk of the business that we do. So that's a no dollar limit that the manufacturer will stop the leak, whether it's workmanship or product failure, and get your roof whole so the roof, you're watertight for the period of the warranty, whether it's 15, 20, 10 years. That's what you want to be buying out there. Usually the manufacturer has to certify the contractor and able to install NDL warranties. So your tier one contractors will have better terms with the manufacturers. A manufacturer's material warranty is just saying that their material is not going to fail. These warranties, I see them out there, people buy them, but they're not really, the reality is the market's matured enough, unless you're buying a new product line, that you don't really see just material failures out there. Then you'll also see manufacturer labor warranties, and they'll have caps on how much labor. You really got to read the fine print in these. My opinion is a lot of them is not worth the paper it's written on. And then always ensure that your contractor's giving you a workmanship warranty or a total warranty for at least 2 years. 2 years is the standard. You will see some that go to 5 years, but usually not much further than that. If we're given a 5-year warranty, we like to see that there's preventative maintenance being done on the roof to ensure, I used a car example. You can't buy a new car and not change the oil, right? You buy a brand new roof and it's a significant investment, and you don't maintain it, clean the drains, the caulking trays, penetration, things of that nature need to be addressed. So just a little bit on warranties. Just to recap that, there are wind rider warranties that are out there now. It's not on the slide. Where you do additional peel stops, we call them fingers, additional enhancements around the perimeters, and the manufacturers will write up to 120, 130, depending on the system, wind rider warranties, and there's an extra fee involved in that. We just did a very large job up in Perry, Florida, for a manufacturer there, and they spent the extra money on the additional cover board and the peel stops in order to get a 120-mile-an-hour warranty wind rider. So it's there are things out there that you can do if you want to increase your wind rating on your warranties. Most standard warranties, if it's over 40 to 50-mile-an-hour winds documented, your warranty is no longer valid. You will have to get the manufacturer back out there for a reinspection, and then they'll re-sign off on your warranty. So that's something to keep in mind. A little bit about insurances. We're not insurance experts. I just like to bring this slide up because I see a lot of heartache stories out there, and as property managers and building maintainers, I'm sure you guys dealt with this, but there's the deductibles. I've seen people have up to 20% deductibles in this last storm and a full building value, and the roof didn't even meet the deductible. ACV versus RCV, make sure you have full replacement costs, not depreciated. A lot of people had a 15-year-old roof and they only had 5 years left, and there was an argument how much lifespan was this actual roof system. So really understanding, is there wind coverage versus hail, flood? things of that nature. Understanding those policies, I feel bad for a lot of customers that think they have an insurance policy, and then there's always loopholes out there. Those policies are written for the insurance company, so spend the extra time on it. I know I have been in our properties, making sure we get proper coverage, and asking the question up front before you sign the check to them, because that's the time to do it. Once they get their money, it's very hard to negotiate better terms on those policies. A little bit on closing out today, just damage evidence. A lot of people are like, what do I need to do? I tell everybody, get a video camera, videotape the damage on the roofs. Most policies allow you to do temporary repairs to dry in the building. Some people after this last storm didn't really want to go down that road. They were looking for permanent fixes. I can tell you, if you go straight into a permanent fix, you are usually dealing with the longer insurance process, because they want to ensure that it was done to code. B, was there a permit pulled? Cities will waive the permits, but then they're retroactively going back now requiring permits. So just looking what you got. Wind damage to roof systems. I've walked up on roofs that look perfectly fine, but then digging into it and doing some core cuts, roofs will lift up and set back down. That happens a lot when you have these microbursts. I can tell you from flying the state this last year, there was a lot of microbursts where fully adhered or mechanically attached systems actually lifted up and laid right back down. And the roof looked fine. Then once you started taking core cuts, there was no attachment there. So the next wind event you have, it could be a possibility. So really making sure you got a thorough inspection and that roof is still secured if you weathered out the storm. And another thing that I see a lot of everybody's that they spend the money on a good roof, but then their openings, the windows and doors, especially the roll-up doors, are 30, 40 years old, and they just keep them running. But if that door fails, your whole envelope of your building is been compromised. So you'll get a pressure scenario going on inside the building, which will allow the air's got to go somewhere. If it's coming in that door, it's going to blow up the roof, most likely. I've seen a lot of big scenarios of that on buildings like UPS's, big warehouses, small warehouses too, where half the roof got lifted up and set back down. So this is something to keep in mind, to make sure that you've got secure, all entries to the building are secure. So key takeaways, we all know, and the news has done a good job hyping it. We get warnings, and I know the warnings and the cones and where is it going. I can tell you this year, no one anticipated the amount of tornadoes that we had out of a couple of those hurricanes. I watched one go right by my front door, and I was on the other coast. I was on the East Coast. So, always take the warnings. Those outer bands are almost just as strong as the eye sometimes. Have the emergency plan in place with your family, tenants. What is, after the storm, who's going up on that roof? I've actually had a couple customers where tenants went up on the roof and got injured. I've heard those stories. So making sure you got everybody's there, emergency contacts, who are your vendors that are going to come in and help you put it back together. And make sure you get everything maintained, proper documents. I heard a story 2 years ago or 3 years ago of the hurricane that went through on the West Coast, Ian, I think it was. And they lost all their insurance documents, all the roofing documents, all the building documents in the computers, and they didn't have a cloud server in their bottom floor because of flooding. So make sure you got all that. It's in a safe spot, cloud, or not on ground zero. If you're in a flood zone, or we have 14 foot of surge, it'll wipe out the whole first floor. Free roofing inspections. We're happy to go up, document your condition of your roof, give you an opinion on its age, life expectancies, document any recommended repairs, and then any emergency repairs that should be done right away. That could be a immediate source of water intrusion into the buildings. So please contact one of our reps if you would like to engage us for the service. If you missed one of our previous webinars, they're all on our website. We did one on budget management assets, roof coatings, HVAC, the solar energy, rooftop safety, and the asset management, which is our advanced access system for the inspections. School is out. I appreciate everybody's time on this Thursday, midday. And
do we have any questions in the chat? No, nothing.
I answered one of them. A high performance roof system. What would be the best system for a 5-story building in Key Largo? I would personally do a fully adhered system. I'm not sure of your deck type, but fully adhered systems, whether you mechanically attach down your base and then fully adhere the membrane, is the best system. I personally do not like TPOs near saltwater environments. We do them because that's what the customers request, but I've seen TPOs degrade because of the salt content sitting on the roofs over time. I'd recommend a modified or a PVC system.
Yeah, and thank you. I'm just going to add a couple things. Sorry for my technical difficulty there, but I'm back up with my camera on. So a couple things, as you can see, not only roofing, solar, HVAC, we do it all. So we keep this in-house. We just completed our largest job. We're in the process of the Orlando Convention Center, 25 million for roofing, solar, and HVAC. We're proud of that we can all work together on the same job, and there's no finger pointing ever. So we're always getting a solution for our customers. And then in a plannings, if whoever you're using as your contractor, roofing contractor, ask them what their plan is. We have plans. Mike is a pilot. He lives on a runway in Palm City. He's got a helicopter and a single engine plane that he flies to our branches with, but he's up immediately as he can. If you're under our umbrella, we'll be looking at your roof. We'll know before you know and can dispatch crews. We do have 750 employees in the state. We have over 80 service trucks. We have over 250 vehicles in the state. And then I started Roof Connect over 20 years ago. We have over 100 roofing contractors under that, all privately held, but tier one contractors, all top of the line contractors. So I can call on them as well. So no matter what happens, we've got all our clients covered. So just keep us in mind, and free inspection, as you can tell, our BD team. And if you can scan here, we'll do the drawing, I think, afterwards. Any questions, anything? We appreciate everybody's time. Thank you, everybody.
Is Jason Caruth.